In this video, I'm going to talk about Learning Objective 4.7D, which is evaluate functions using function composition. What this is it looks very similar to multiplication of two functions, but it's different. It's right here, and how you say it is f of g of x. Versus if you saw multiplication of two functions like f and g, it would look like this: f of x times g of x. And that's what we did back in Learning Objective B. What this is f of g of x. And the real application of this comes into play really with computer programming. And what computer programmers will do, in particular, let's say you work for Best Buy, and they're having a special on a TV set where you can get 20% off, and then you can also get $100 off after that. What they'll do is they will hire their computer programmers and say, I need to have the registers work properly such that it first does one thing, and that might be give you the 20% discount, and then after that it'll go back and give you the $100 off. And function composition is needed to make that work. So let's take a look at an example. There's two types of function composition we're going to do. One where you get a numerical answer, and the second where you get a formula. We're going to look at 4 different examples that give us the numerical answers. And here's what it looks like. This right here is called f of g of 2. And all you need to do is look at it as 2 different problems embedded in one. You always work your way from the inside out. So what you first want to do is find g of 2, which is right there. So on this side, I'll say I'm trying to find g of 2. And that just tells me to go to the g function. So my eyes kind of go up to the g function, and I realize that g of x is equal to 4x. Well, notice this. They want g of 2. Well, in the original function, it's g of x. So what they did is they're replacing the x value with the 2. So all you have to do is go to the g function, and where you see the x, you're going to put a 2. So I'm going to do 4 times 2 and realize that equals 8. So g of 2 is 8. Since I know that, I now take that answer and I plug it in for g of 2. Then what it's going to look like is this. It's going to say f, that's still there, the original f is right there, but what is g of 2? It's 8, so I put that in its place. So really the question is, what is f of 8? Well, to find that, it tells me to go to the f function, so my eyes go over to this f function, which is right here, and I notice f of x is x squared minus 4. Well, they don't want me to put x in there, they want me to put an 8. So I go to where the x is, and I take that x out, and I put an 8 in its place. So I would write, instead of x squared, I'm going to put 8 squared minus 4. Simplify that, you get 64 minus 4, or 60. Now, let's look at function composition in terms of what if I change the order. This time, let's find g of f of 2. So I'm going to work the same way. I'm going to start from the inside and do this first. I'm going to find f of 2. So on the side, I'm going to say, okay, f of 2. To find it, again, I'm going to go eyeball the f function. The f function was right up here. And the f function originally, let me actually just write them here. F of x was originally x squared minus 4. G of x was 4x. So what I'm going to do is go to the f function, which is this guy right here. Where I see the x, I'm going to put a 2. So I'm going to do, instead of x squared, I do 2 squared minus 4. 2 squared minus 4 is equal to 0. So that is what f of 2 equals. So then I take that answer and I put it into here. So the real question is, what is g of 0? To find that, it tells me which function to go to. I eyeball the g function over here. Where x is, I put a 0, so it would be 4 times 0, and I simplify that, and I get that the final answer is 0. Now this second type of example is different. They don't want me to find a numerical answer, they want one that's going to be a formula, and I can tell by this. They want me to find, it says here, g of f of x. And I'm going to show you 2 ways to go about doing this. One way I'll do it is, again, start from the inside. And notice they want me to find, they want f of x. So I go and I eyeball, and I realize f of x is right there, and it equals x squared. So what I do is I substitute f of x, I take it out of here, and I put that in its place. So now it is g of x squared. Notice on this formula that's sitting here, f is no longer there, it only says g. So now the next step is to just look right at this thing here, and it says, tells me where to go. Go to the g function. I eyeball the g function is here. Here's what they want me to do. Wherever I see x, they want me to put x squared. Notice they've changed it. It used to be x. They want x squared. So I just go to the formula, and wherever I see an x, I put the x squared in its place. So this would look like 2, it's normally times x, but again, x needs to be x squared, they said. X squared, and then here it's going to be plus 3. To finish this problem off, all I would do is multiply 2x squared plus 3x, or plus 3, and that's my answer. Let's look at another example. This one here, be careful, they've changed the functions. F of x is x squared, g of x is 3x minus 1. They want me to find f of g of x and g of f of x. So let me do the same method I used before. We start at the inside. I identify what g of x is. G of x is 3x minus 1. So I put that in place of there. So I have f of 3x minus 1. Again, notice here the g function is no longer listed, so I don't go back to it. It tells me to go to the f function. So I eyeball the f function, which is normally x squared. And what I do is I put 3x minus 1 in its place. So I look again at the function and I put 3x minus 1 in place of x. So it's going to look like this. It's going to be, instead of x squared, it's going to be 3x minus 1 squared. Now be careful to simplify. This means repeat the base twice. And don't forget, in this case, we are going to have to FOIL. When you do that, we get 9x squared minus 3x plus 1. Your final answer for this is 9x squared minus 6x plus 1. Now, what if we reverse the order? What if we do letter B, g of f of x? We will get a different answer in this case. Sometimes you would get the same answer, but it does happen. Let's do this. What is f of x? Well, f of x, I can tell, is x squared, so I'm going to put that in its place. I just replaced f of x with what it is, x squared. Now it tells me to go to the g function, so I eyeball the g function. Wherever I see the x in the g function, which is right there, I put this value. So I'm going to write 3 times x squared minus 1, and this simplifies to 3x squared minus 1, which is what I put for my answer. Now that's one method to solve this. There's a second method sometimes people like, and let me show you what that would look like. I'm going to use the same functions again. So this was x squared, and g was 3x minus 1. And let's do this letter again. What if they asked me to find g of f of x? I can absolutely use this method that I did above here, or I could use a shortcut method, and let me show you this. You might like it better. What you do is it says take f of x. So I will find f of x, and I identify that it's that. It says take f of x and put it into the g function. So since I have identified f of x here, I go to the g function over here, and wherever I see an x, which is right there, is where I put this value. So this is just a substitution. It's actually a shorter method of doing it. Again, take the f function, which was x squared, put it into the g function, which is right there, which would leave me with 3 times x squared minus 1, which gives me the same answer that I just got above. So hopefully these are enough examples for you to understand function composition with numbers and with the way to get a final formula.